Spice tells lies. With their deceptive nature, they will first dance on your tongue, pulling you towards a false sense of comfort.
Until the sinister heat of the herb creeps in.
Poison works the same way.
The burning intensifies and leaves you with an unsettling aftertaste. But before you can take another sip, the toxin has reached your body.
A simple drink now becomes the culprit of your sudden death.
The 2nd of Deldorum, 1:14 a.m., The Wish and Gut.
Sayun, Nightshade, Maeve, and Molly.
And Butter.
Sayun, Nightshade, Maeve, Molly, and Butter were on their way to the tavern keeper's house. His address was posted in the tavern somewhere. Sayun recalled reading it once.
The air was colder down in Loth. The way the wind howled between the canyon walls made the Undercity so eerie. By the time they reached Smogtown, Missouri had started her own side quest of sorts.
Missouri is an interesting character, not only because of how much trouble she gets into, but also because she's chaos incarnate. While the others were headed for Smogtown to find the tavern keeper's home, Missouri stayed back to do a little more investigating.
You know, the fact that Missouri stumbled into the tavern and immediately recognized the tavern keeper's symptoms as poison is concerning, to say the least.
Well, it suits her. Not only does she work in a dangerous field, but she seems like the type to play with poisons for fun. It's a Fingal thing.
Oh, I know it's a Fingal thing. Butter and poisons are not a good mix. But man, what a spoil to the story. Could have at least waited until episode 4.
I mean, we know he died, and he was poisoned. It was kinda obvious.
Was it, though? Everyone in the tavern wielded some kind of magical ability. I think maybe he was cursed. Someone could have put a spell on him.
It's possible, but the symptoms would be far more subtle if it was magic. The tavern keeper, he had a biological reaction. The discoloration, the convulsion, that's definitely poison.
I don't know. His vibe seemed off. Whatever killed him seemed to drain his life from the inside. I still think you can't brew that kind of curse in a pot.
Missouri started behind the bar. She was searching for anything that might visibly be out of place.
A cup that doesn't belong, an item hidden from the menu, something that would immediately jump out at her.
Nope.
She picked up glass after glass, inspecting the rims.
Ooh, what's this? Malt wine, Perth brew beer, cinder clip whiskey, and a whole bottle of cinnamon murder?
The cinnamon murder is a hybrid of mulled wine with a hint of cinnamon-flavored liquor.
I'm sure the barkeep wouldn't mind.
A burgundy red, thick, spicy.
Yeah, it's one of those drinks that make you cough the first time you drink it. That's why they call it the cinnamon murder. Ironic, isn't it?
It was first sold to the street folks in Loth who wanted a drink that could put an end to their misery. And not literally.
No. It didn't kill them. It was just meant to get them drunk really fast.
To the Fingals like Missouri and Butter, they can't actually taste spice.
So a drink like the cinnamon murder has just enough of a kick to taste like what a regular mulled wine would be to the common folk.
Let's see here. Crates? Barrels? Huh. A stock ledger. Nothing seems out of place. There's gotta be something I'm missing. All right, Missouri. Mother always says to stress those brain cogs in times like these. Now think. Oh, I know. I'll just check if the bottles have any other prints on them.
Missouri is skilled.
Since the tavern keeper's a human and his barkeep is a lizard, there should only be one set of handprints on the bottles. Why didn't I think of this before?
Honestly, if she wasn't a delivery girl for criminals, I'd say she could pass for a detective.
I think it's just one of those things where when you work in the black market, you pick up talents that normal people wouldn't have, unless, they were a little weird.
She grabbed an empty cup, filled it with soot from the chimney, picked up a cleaning brush and wax paper from a block of cheese.
Then she set to work. She started by dusting each bottle with the soot, and with the wax paper, she'd easily collect a fingerprint. An old-fashioned forensic method to identify a suspect.
The last fingerprint to collect was from the tavern keeper. She returned to his body with her tools in hand and reached for his arm. And very carefully, she pressed his hand against a clean glass and...
Jackpot.
She got his prints.
There you are.
They matched the ones on the bottles.
The only other print she got belonged to a reptilian lizard paw.
A human tavern keeper and his lizard barkeep. No third party. I guess the drinks weren't poisoned. It does make sense, since none of the other patrons died here either. Well then, let's see what's really going on with you, Mr. Expired.
Miseria knelt by the body once again, inspecting him a little closely now.
The yellow skin could mean anything. Thallium sulfate gives its victims a jaundice look. The hot, dry skin, too.
Thallium sulfate is a poison commonly used by assassins. It was first used to sabotage the noble court of Crowthane.
It's a black, tasteless powder that can most definitely be purchased down in Loth.
These swollen veins could also be from agaricute dust. A bit of that paired with some citrus? One sip would easily knock him dead.
Agaricute dust isn't actually a poison. It's a common spice found in Fingalforth, the native home of our mushroom folk.
Fingalforth. What a weird name. But yes, the agaricute dust, it's like salt or pepper, but with psychedelic effects. A culinary spice, but non-toxic.
Not unless it's mixed with something acidic, like a lemon or vinegar.
Or wine.
Could also be ash bloom or night glass. Hard to say. He's got way too many symptoms. Huh. His mouth is still moist.
Oh, gross. Why'd she have to say it like that?
How would you say it?
His mouth is, wet?
That's not any better.
It's got some residue on it, like he's been drinking something, which is odd considering his hands are drier than the desert. You'd think his lips would dry out too.
Miseria reached for his chin and opened his mouth a little wider, peeking in to see if there's any remnants of a drink.
What if I...
She's gonna touch it, isn't she?
Yeah. Miseria touched the residue that's staining his lips. Kind of burns her fingers a little.
Miseria is now up on her feet, racing back behind the bar to grab a cloth, a rag, anything she could use to collect just a little more of his saliva.
The rags are a bit too dirty, though. They're full of dust and rum from where Sayun wiped down the counter earlier.
On the wall just beneath the rack of drinks, she finds small jars of spices, the cooking kind. She grabs one of them and empties it out on the counter.
We grow these like dandelions back home. I doubt he'd mind.
Oh, Miseria, that was saffron. Does she have any idea how expensive that stuff is?
Miseria cleaned out the little jar and returned to the tavern keeper's body, where she very carefully collected as much residue as she could.
It's not enough, but it'll do.
1:45 a.m. Outside the Wish and Get. Miseria's first stop was to an alley in the High Factory District. From this level, you can see the moons.
The stars were less visible, though. All the factory steam and pollution from the districts below made the sky hazy. Still, it's not as bad as Smogtown.
Up in the High Factory District, people had set up stalls and vendors all across multiple plazas to sell their wares.
Miseria knew she needed to be here for answers.
Smart girl.
The shops are usually lit and festive during the day.
But this late in the night,
Or in this case, early in the morning.
it's quiet.
Well, quieter. At least compared to Lethora, where the streets are lively day and night. The markets down in Loth stay open, but after midnight, the people in Loth just stop caring.
About the time, that is. After midnight, time is irrelevant down in Loth.
That's why the streets are quieter.
Like a horde of undead, tired street folks wander, haggling for bits and bobs, whatever sells this late in the night.
Miseria made her way over to an alley between two market stalls. One that sold copper rings marketed as real Avonian gold. The other sold wooden baskets.
She saw a group of, people?
Criminals?
No, more like urchins.
Well, she eyed this one kid.
He's not an urchin.
No, he's just a kid.
They were huddled around a makeshift table on the ground, sitting together in the darkness. There's a plank of wood balancing on an old barrel with a faint lantern glowing in the center.
They were playing a game.
And betting all their coins.
Excuse me, you folks don't mind if I join you, do you? Your game looks quite fun.
So, is this supposed to help her find the poison that killed the tavern keeper?
Well, Mizira thinks so.
I wonder what her play is. I mean, she's got a network of mercenaries and scholars, couriers with sharp tongues. Why not just ask one of them for help? Why stop for games?
Well, it's not really about the game. What she needs is someone who knows the streets, not the system.
Clever.
Her people can easily find the man she's looking for, but that doesn't mean he'll stick around until Mizira catches up to him. Mizira's smart. She's taking a rather local approach.
Right. That way, the merchant can't anticipate her arrival, or run away.
Exactly. Down in Loth, finding someone isn't as easy as it might be in Lothora. No one gives up information without a little compensation.
That's why she picks up these urchins, or, I guess, street kids. One among them is bound to help her if the pay is high enough.
That or she'll bribe them. That's why she plays her game.
Still, even if she plays with them, who's to say they'll be able to help? If this mystery merchant doesn't want to be found, what makes her think some street kid would know where to look?
That street kid might know who to ask. Mizira doesn't know anyone down here. Besides, look at her. A 5-foot spore of a woman comes up to you asking for directions to a poison store. Who the hell would take her seriously?
Fair enough.
Just one round, if you don't mind. If you win, you get this whole pouch of coins. If I win, you owe me a favor.
You seem new here, miss. You should know. Down here, there are no rules. I cheat.
That's okay. I expect it.
Mizira took her seat between two of the players, and the dealer handed everyone their cards.
What we're playing here is called Cutthroat 5. One game is 5 rounds. The rules are simple. Build the highest scoring hand and you win whatever we're betting. Got it? Good. Because I don't like to repeat myself.
The draw phase. Each player starts with 2 cards and take turns picking up another from the deck.
Until everyone's got a total of 5 cards. If you don't like your hand, you can fold, if you don't want to risk losing your bet.
The players can bluff or intimidate each other, you know, classic gambling tactics.
And then the reveal phase. Once all players are satisfied with their hand, they reveal their cards. Each player calculates their score and...
the highest total wins. The players start again until they've played 5 rounds, and the winner with the highest score by the end of the game gets the loot.
Of course though, Mizira lost.
I'm sorry, come again? What do you mean she lost?
Well look, this game is all luck. She's playing with 6 other people. I'd be surprised if she did win.
Well, great. Now what?
Don't worry, Mizira is loaded. She just tosses another pouch of coins and tries again. And a 3rd time. Until she finally wins.
Are you serious? It took her 3 games to finally win?
That was fun. I'd love to stick around and keep playing, but since I've won, I believe you owe me that favor.
And what makes you think we do favors down here?
She pulled out her mother's fancy business card. The kid recognized the name. Everyone in Loth does.
Right. A favor for a corpus stride goon.
Goon? Me? I think you've got me confused for someone else. After my mother, that business is mine.
Lady Corpus Stride is your mother?
Now, that favor?
Yes, right. Anything you need, you've got it.
Good. I need you to take me to a man.
Any man? That's not very specific. Do you know how many men live in the Undercity?
No, silly. He's a very peculiar merchant. He thinks medicine and poisons are, well, synonymous.
I've heard of a man of that make, but I can't give you a name. I don't know him.
That's exactly why you're gonna help me find him.
And what makes you think I know where to look?
Yeah, what makes her think he knows where to look?
Maybe she didn't. Maybe she hoped. Besides, even if he didn't know, he still owes her a favor. And this kid? He doesn't want to owe a debt to the corporate stride name.
Follow me, miss. A man like that doesn't operate in Loth, but his name does get passed around every now and then. I think they call him Puzzle? Pockle? Pickle, maybe? I can't remember.
Pickle, huh? That's a funny name.
So, why is a lady like you looking for a man called Pickle anyway?
I believe he might have some information for me. You see, someone died, and I think he might know what happened to him.
You mean the old tavern keep? There's a rumor going around he drank himself to death. That true?
I don't know. I showed up right after he died. But I hear the tavern keeper was a good man. A smart man. Well respected down here. So kid, you tell me, would a tavern keeper really drink himself to death? Not a very good business acumen if you ask me.
Guess not, miss. Why are you helping him out? You know him.
He paid me. Least I could do is give him his money's worth. Now kid, where exactly are you taking me?
Jacko and Clyde's. They're spice forgers, not actual forgers.
Yeah, they don't make fake IDs and passports and things like that.
They're cooks. They blend fake spices to mimic upper city flavors, great for broke citizens who want to feel as fancy as a Lothlorian topsider.
If anyone's gonna know a man named Pickle, it's gotta be these two. They were topsiders, you know?
They're two brothers, once topsiders, that were forced to live in Loth after losing their jobs as topside chefs. Tragic.
Mazira asked them a couple questions, nothing to note, just to know if they knew the tavern keeper or if they were familiar with a man named Pickle.
Puzzle.
What?
His name is Puzzle. Jacko said so. That's what he calls himself anyways.
And this man, Puzzle, where does a merchant like him reside?
Jacko wrote down an address on a piece of paper. It's a place that's not in the Undercity, that's for sure. That means Mazira needs to head for Lothora next.
The trip from Loth to Lothora isn't too bad. There are several routes Mazira could take if she wanted to walk, or she could take the railway that Nightshade used to get down here.
She could also pay a driver.
Like a cab service?
Yeah, or whatever the equivalent is in this world. Yes, she got herself a private ride topside.
So she's driving to Puzzle's store.
What? No, she doesn't know where she's going. It's not about the location, though. It's about finding the right people to get you there.
Oh, so the driver's gonna get her there.
No. Would you forget the driver for a second? He's not important. The city topside always seems so much more alive at night compared to during the day. People are always celebrating something, like the Clockfire festivals, Ember's Eve, the Inventor's Wake, all sorts of nighttime events where Lothorans bring together magic and science.
At this hour, the airships still clutter the sky. Even the skyscrapers are glowing. These are some of the tallest in the continent.
Not as tall as Crothane's, though. Crothane has the tallest skyscrapers, but Lothora does have that Bellspire clock tower.
It really is a massive wonder. When Lothora was founded, they built that clock tower to honor their founding of time. Its chime could be heard all the way to the deepest depths of the Undercity.
Miseria abandoned the kid back in the Undercity. She's on her own now.
Where, oh where, is Miseria headed next?
Jacko and Clyde's told her about a stationery store in the shopping district. It's around Lothora's city center, near the big citadel where the governess lives.
Good to know stationery stores are open past midnight in Lothora.
You never know when you're gonna need a pen, for all your late night script writing.
Great, he makes jokes now.
Besides, the driver doesn't take her right to the shop. The note she's got reads, West End Shopping District, Lothora. Ask for thistle and ink.
Thistle and ink? Ink Thistle, that's where she's headed.
Ink thistle?
Ink Thistle, the apothecary stationery store. It's the kind of place where pens and poisons are sold together.
Ink Thistle. What an odd-looking place to buy arsenics. But if he's the guy, then who am I to judge?
Take a breath. A sniff. A whiff, if you will. What do you smell?
Cardamom?
A strange scent for a store that sells ink.
The shop was lit in amber tones. Faint lanterns were glowing in every corner, between the shelves too. There's no order in this shop.
Ink Thistle was cluttered in the way only dangerous shops knew how to be.
Rows of ink bottles and parchment bundles sat on perfectly dusted shelves.
Pens were arranged like weapons, and envelopes were tucked in intricately weaved wicker baskets.
It looked like a stationery store, smelled like one too, if your stationery store carried culinary spices.
Could be from the tea and parchment, or incense.
Or poison. Miseria walked through the aisles, dragging her fingertips against some of the books on the shelves.
How to? A practical guide to subtle poisons. A study in fungal fatalities. Read it. The Book of Bitter Harvest? Gosh, that's an old one.
She continued to the counter where a man was standing with his back turned. He was fidgeting with something. An old trinket, I think.
There was a sign beside him that read, "Quills are half price. Vellum is sold out. A new shipment will be coming on the last of Daldorum."
Oh, excuse me. Are you Puzzle?
The man laughed and shook his head, setting the trinket down as he turned to face Miseria.
He introduced himself as Puzzle. No real first name or last name, just Puzzle.
Puzzle is an alias, of course. Why would he reveal his true identity in a place where a local citizen can buy poison?
Well, Puzzle's somewhat important to the Undercity met a tragic fate, and I believe I hold the cause in my hand. Well, actually, my pocket.
Miseria pulled out the little jar of Tavern Keep spit and handed it over to Puzzle.
He worked in the Undercity. I believe he was poisoned, so could you take a look?
Puzzle shook the jar and the liquid barely moved. It was thick, black in color. It had this thread-like web within it.
He flipped the jar upside down, hoping for a reaction, but nothing. As he took his time staring at the jar, Miseria wandered the shop.
There was a desk full of strange colored inks, a glittery purple, a yellow one labeled Centaur Blood, and a crimson jar labeled Morning Ink.
What, were they out of, night ink or something? Get it?
Oh my... No. Morning. M-O-U...
Oh, got it.
The ingredients say it's made of powdered crow feathers and myrrh resin, supposedly used for writing death certificates? Or curses?
No, look at those brass stamps. Are those Fingals? Why are they wrestling?
All of the brass stamps had odd figures on them. Fun for casual wax seals, I guess, but who uses those for correspondence?
There were shelves full of odd-shaped jars labeled things like bitter nectar and breath of the wilted. Dried wolfsbane dangled from the rafters like overripe fruit.
Puzzle set the vial of Tavern Keeper's spit down with a gentle clink. Then he snapped his fingers.
With a sudden click of the shop's door locking in place, the amber glow began to brighten until the colors changed from a deep orange to a cold purple.
The pens and inks were suddenly replaced by potted plants, overgrown vines, and bottles of arsenics.
Finally, the veil drops. This is how a stationery becomes an apothecary. Where empty journals used to be, there were now how-to guides for brews and potions.
And that purple light made anything invisible visible.
Whoa, like a UV light?
Yeah, exactly. Scorpion shells, tree bark, or poison would begin to glow as the lights change.
Just like the Tavern Keeper's spit. Puzzle tilted the vial under the light, and he gave it a little shake.
If it glows green or yellow, the substance is biological. Blue and purple are botanical. Orange and red are typically chemical.
He was a tavern keeper. You could be finding remnants of ale or old vinegar or something of the sort.
Puzzle shook his head. Alcohol doesn't glow under purple light, so the spit was green.
And blue. Yeah, it's got a bit of blue specks too. Probably from whatever spices the tavern keeper had in his drink.
I probably should have brought the barkeep with me. I don't quite know how his boss died, but his symptoms did seem like he was poisoned. Like the yellow skin. Death cap mushrooms can't cause such a thing. Or cyanide could be what made his veins protrude.
Puzzle opened the lid of the little vial and he sniffed.
It didn't smell like anything, so he gave it a taste.
Oh my god, he's gonna die.
No, Puzzle's the kind of guy who built up the tolerance for poisons. Yeah, he kinda has a habit of putting toxic plants in his mouth. I'm pretty sure that's how he got his name.
None of the drinks seemed laced with anything lethal. Otherwise, I'd assume more than one would drop dead in that tavern. And besides, If someone was after the tavern keeper, how would he manage to slip an arsenic into his drink?
Azaria's thinking out loud now. Puzzle's just kind of watching her. He does the same thing. Monologues.
Puzzle waved his hand and the storefront returned to its stationary guise.
Doesn't seem plausible. Maybe it wasn't something in his drink. Could it be magic? But if he was cursed, there'd be some evidence. A mark, a sigil, a lingering energy, the faintest smell of sulfur. No, it's definitely not magic.
Puzzle gave her the vial back and reassured her that there wasn't anything lethal in the tavern keeper's saliva, so if it was poison, his drink wasn't the source.
I didn't get to see how he died or what else he took that day. I was meeting with him to deliver a shipment of guns. He's a loyal customer, always buying and selling with us.
Puzzle returned to his trinkets, half paying attention to whatever Missouri was blabbing about.
You know, I don't typically get involved in my client's affairs, but if he was targeted on the day of my delivery, it makes me wonder if someone was after him for the weapons, or for something else entirely. Well, anyways, this helps rule out the sources. Thank you!
The 2nd of Deldorum, 1:58 a.m., outside the stationary apothecary.
So long as no one is stealing from our emporium, I have no business sticking around, but I guess I won't know that until we rule out the cause and the reason for his death. Guess I should head back and meet the others. Ugh, what a night.
Missouri pulled out a little trinket from her satchel, a copper-colored device with a ton of buttons in a light, glowing orange.
I could go back to the Wish and Get. They did say we'd meet back there. I could also join them at the house, tell his family about the poisoning and how it wasn't from the drinks. Let's see. They said they'd be headed to Smogtown.
Missouri glanced at the clock tower and paused to think.
I could also ask his wife if she'd like to keep the guns, since we don't do refunds at Corpse Stride. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Let's see. Where are you guys?
She pressed a couple buttons on the device, and after a moment,
The light turned green.
coordinates appeared on the little screen. It looked like a jumble of numbers, but clearly Missouri seemed to know what she's doing.
It's a tracking device. Before the group split, Missouri had given Maeve a similar device but without the buttons, like a tracker. She told her to hold on to it until they met up again.
She did?
Yeah. Oh, crap. Did we leave that part out of the story?
We might have forgotten to mention it.
Oops. Well, yeah, that was definitely an interaction that happened. And now that Missouri knows where to find them, she waved her hand in front of her. The air vibrated.
It took a second. Well, okay, actually it took 7 seconds. But then the space in front of her began to ripple and tear open.
The ripple turned into a portal.
Like we said before, almost everyone in this world is magic.
It was hard to make out what was on the other side. It looked like... wait, what? Fire? A lot of shouting. Wait, is that Nightshade?
Maeve's there too. And Molly?
Why is everything on fire? Thanks for tuning in to Cassia Letalis. Think you can solve the murder before we do? Be sure to subscribe to our official Cassia Letalis podcast to keep on listening and get notified when a new episode is released. We'll see you in Lethora.